Our human cultures tend to be pretty hypocritical. We teach and believe one thing, but then our behaviors and actions reflect something else. For example, we believe from either our spiritual teachings or from our cultural foundation that we are all created equal. Whether or not we're created equal by God or by circumstances, we believe that every human person has certain inalienable rights, that we're all equal in that capacity, in that regard. And we teach our children, we want them to maximize their fullest potential, that they're all equal, but we want them to make sure that they give 100% in the classroom and in their formation so that they can do the best that they can. Not only is this spiritually fulfilling, but it's also good citizenship. Imagine a culture, a community where everybody's giving 100%. So we teach that, we believe that at one level, but then our behaviors reflect something else. We discover that just because people may be equal in some level, they aren't equal in every level. Susie's 100% might be better than Bobby's 100%. And we celebrate winners. We celebrate superior performance. There's a commercial out now for some exercise equipment where a young girl is kind of admonishing her father, "You didn't wake up to be mediocre." So we don't celebrate mediocrity, we only celebrate the winners. So even though we say to our children that we are satisfied if they simply try their best, we give them this underlying message that says, maybe your best isn't good enough. Maybe you need to give 110%, which is impossible, but we give that impression. So we end up encouraging people to skew the curve, to cheat, to dope, to do whatever it takes to be on the pedestal of championship. This sets us up. It's a big setup for our community, our culture. Is it any wonder that as people go through a midlife crisis and they discover they're not the person they thought they were or tried to be, that no matter how hard they work, there's still struggles and failures involved? We need therapy. In reality, that is the mess. That's the problem. God does not say that. In our first reading, we hear where God exalts those who are humble and humbles those who are proud. That's not a reversal in the afterlife. We tend to think that, well, if I'm trying my best and no one pays attention, at least God's going to reward me when I get to the other side. If I'm a megalomaniac and I'm full of myself and arrogant, overstate my cases, then I'm going to expect to be brought down a peg or two in the afterlife. But again, that is our own human ranking system that sees that passage in that way. Instead, God sees things differently. God recognizes our capacity, our potential. He gave us that potential. He knows what we're capable of, and it's not supernatural. It's not superhuman. So God is only expecting us to do what we can do. He gave us the gift to do it. He doesn't expect anything more. But he does expect us to fulfill that. Jesus comes along and tells us that greatness isn't in the standards that we have in our culture. Instead, it's through service to others. And we, even as a church, as a culture, we miss that. So most of our schools are in competition for students, and we give the image that we're all about training the best. And ultimately, we're trying to bring out the best in each student, but we emphasize training the best. So it doesn't matter if we're an elite preparatory school or some charter school serving the disadvantaged. We put leadership either in our title or in our mission statement, that we're called to lead, we're training leaders, and that's a delusion. Not everyone's going to be a leader, so why are we doing the bait and switch? In reality, if we're going to live the gospel, we need to appreciate that Jesus says, "I'm not here to be served, but to serve." This is our leader, and he's the one serving all the rest. And if that's the message, that's the whole point of the gospel, that we too as disciples are supposed to be in service to others. Not in it for our own status, our own championship, but to serve one another. Even in our cultural terms, we say that the measure of a community is how it treats its lowest members, its most vulnerable members. We say that in one hand, do we live it on the other? So only when we fully embrace this gospel passage will we discover what we're really capable of as a community, capable as individuals, and really establish the kingdom of God, because that's as good as it gets if we live up to what God gives us the gifts to do.